massive object or travelling space visitors? You decide. Astronomers have spent decades looking for objects from outside our own solar system. What would essentially be interstellar visitors from an alien star system. But it's when all hope seems to be lost that some of the most marvellous things do happen. It was something like that for these astronomers who detected something. After decades of finding absolutely nothing, something completely unexpected happened. Two objects arrived at once. Scientists and astronomers from across the world, SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, and NASA joined in the study of these mysterious visitors. Could we learn from what was their origin story? Where did they come from? And when could we expect the arrival of the next? The first object emerged from the celestial void and was visible only as a tiny bright speck on the telescope of the Space Observatory in Hawaii. Tumbling through space at 57,000 miles per hour, the object was found to have come from the direction of Vega, an alien star that resides 147 trillion miles away. It was shaped like an elongated cigar and was 1,000 meters long. That's not very big for a comet or an asteroid, but that is if it even was a comet or asteroid. It possibly formed into an uncannily spaceship-like disk. By the time it was spotted, it had already zipped past our own sun, performed a slick hip in turn, and was hurtling off in another direction. A very unnatural movement and behaviour for an asteroid or comet, just as astronomers were recovering from the shock and awe and the confusion of this surprise visitor. Something else suddenly happened. Another object came into sight. Yes, another one. Russian engineer and amateur astronomer Gennady Borisov glimpsed an object moving against the pre-dawn sky from his own personal observatory in Nakhish in Crimea. Using a telescope he had made himself, even at the very first sight, he realised it was special. It was travelling in a different direction to all comets that inhabit the main asteroid belt that sit astride our own solar system. Now, the only question that remains is, are these interstellar visitors of natural origin or artificial? For that we will have to take a journey to the place where they came from. The very first interstellar visitor was named Oumuamua, which means a scout in Hawaiian. Having travelled from the star system Vega, nicknamed the North Star of the past and the future, it is a bright star located just 25 light years from Earth, visible in the summer sky across the northern hemisphere. Because the Earth's axis wobbles, our perception of north gradually shifts to different stars over a 26,000 year cycle. Vega was the North Star for several thousand years, and it will reclaim that status in around 12,000 years. But in early 2013, astronomers discovered an asteroid belt surrounding Vega, suggesting the possibility of alien planets. Within the rock's mists, the layout suggests that these are two areas, an outer region with icy asteroids and a region closer to the star, where warmer space rocks reside, and is where Oumuamua may have travelled from. Sadly, NASA only had 11 days to observe, as it was cruising out incredibly fast, 3 times the speed that Earth orbits the Sun, and then it was out of range, too small, too dim to even be detected. It entered our solar system, and after it flew past Earth, it suddenly accelerated on its way out of our star system. While tracking Oumuamua, we expected that it would follow a hyperbolic orbit, as though the only force acting on it would be gravitational, but it didn't. It was as though there was an additional acceleration, as though something unobserved was pushing it in addition to the influence of gravity. Shaped like an elongated cigar, by the time it was spotted, it had already zipped past our own sun, performed a slick hip turn, and began hurtling off in another direction. Two things in particular fixated the scientists. The first was its mysterious acceleration away from the sun, and the second was its peculiar shape. Over the years that followed, scientific journals and global media headlines swarmed with the speculation, while NASA tried very hard to categorize it as an asteroid, then a comet, then back to an asteroid, and then a comet again. It became very clear that we did not have the slightest clue of what it actually was. And to be honest, we still don't. Harvard astronomer and physicist Abraham A.V. Loeb, however, suggested that it may be an artificial construction made by an intelligent extraterrestrial civilization. Finally, someone who dared to speak what was on everybody's minds. Because whatever it was, one thing for sure, it challenged the physics and baffled everyone. After reaching its closest point to the sun, the object suddenly began exiting the solar system, and at very high speed. Relative to our own sun, or about 95,000 kilometers per second. More than enough to ensure it would escape our star's gravity. But even with such a massive speed, it accelerated in a very smooth and steady manner, totally contrary to what is expected from a rough and irregular comet shape. During outgassing of all its ices, the odds of such behaviour from a naturally occurring comet is highly unlikely. By October the 7th, 2017, it was moving towards the Pegasus constellation, heading for a point unknown. By then, with today's technology, there was no possible way to catch up with it, to obtain any new photographs. Oumuamua was on its way. Thus, the data obtained is all that we will ever have, but all of it is very weird. The attributes could have one perfect explanation. It may be an alien spacecraft with a light sail. A new study suggests, indeed, an artificial origin would explain quite nicely the many weird characteristics of the cosmic visitor. Scientists initially regarded the object as a comet, but was soon reclassified as an asteroid after observations failed to reveal a tail or fuzzy coma. Oumuamua's very discovery was something of an anomaly. Our own solar system doesn't shed any Oumuamua-like objects. Astronomers have used the Green Bank Telescope in West Virginia and the Allen Telescope Array in Northern California to listen for any possible pings coming from Oumuamua. To date, the object has remained silent. Luckily, 2I Borisov has turned out to be emphatically less difficult to decipher than its cosmic companion. Being confirmed as the first interstellar comet ever found, much like those lingering on the outer edges of the solar system, 2I Borisov is thought to have been composed of a muddy mixture of water, dust, and carbon monoxide, as it clearly has a visible tail and was more or less what scientists were expecting. But if anything, 2I Borisov makes Oumuamua seem even weirder. 2I Borisov is believed to have been ripped from an ancient solar system centred around a red dwarf, the dimmest and most abundant type in our galaxy of the red dwarf stars. Based on its speed and trajectory, one international team has tentatively calculated that it may have originated from around the star Ross 573, now a white dwarf, which inhabits a region of the space around 629 trillion miles away from the Sun. They suggest that it was ejected into space after the violent collision of three large objects in the celestial neighbourhood around 900,000 years ago. As for Oumuamua, I am not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. a being from an advanced alien civilization would design a spacecraft that could hide in plain sight if they did wish to spy on us. But what do we know? As our solar system and night skies continue to be observed, who knows what the future holds? But one thing is guaranteed: we'll be more prepared for our next visitors.